Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. Welcome to my mini mandala series. In these videos, I show you how to make a little mandala by starting with a coin or any round object. And all you need is a pen, a pencil, and then I like to have a blending tool to do some shading at the end. You need paper, and then I've got a piece of scrap paper that we're going to use kind of like a ruler. So you don't need much to make these little mandalas. Okay, I'm doing mine in a 5" by 5" little sketchbook, just to give you an idea of the size of it. And I'm going to start today with my pen. I'm just going to place that coin somewhere on the paper, and I'm going to trace around it. All right, there's the center. Then I'm going to pick up my pencil and I'm going to make a grid. So I think this is video number 36, and all of my first 35 videos, we put a line across the center this way and a line down this way. This is the first time we're going to change up our grid a little bit. So we're still going to put a horizontal line. I just kind of guess at where I think the center is. And I bring that line out a little ways. So instead of going straight up and down, I'm actually going to do a letter V, which means I want this to be divided into 3 sort of equal sections. You can already tell this section is too big. So you're basically making a letter X. This one's kind of wide, so I'll make it a little smaller. We're never looking for perfection when we make these. It doesn't really matter. But I just thought today we would make a grid a little bit different, and this is going to give us 6 sections instead of 8 to work in. So I'm just kind of looking to see if these are similar size. They're not perfect. That's what makes our mandalas so special, is that they're always just slightly off, and I love it. Okay, now that I have my grid, I'm going to take my scrap paper, and I'm not going to place it in the center. I'm going to place it at the edge of the circle on one of those lines. And I'm going to be making 3 little hash marks. And I want each of those to be about a pencil width apart. So I'm just going to guess 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to bring that over and add those little dashes on my line. And I go down to the other side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I like to use a piece of scrap paper for this because I'm gone a lot. I teach and I go camping, and we go on vacations, and I don't like to carry a ruler with me. So I always have scrap paper, which is just nice and easy for me to use. Okay, now I'm going to connect those little hash marks in a circular shape. So I'm just giving it this little rounded curve and connecting each of those. There's the first one. Second one. And my last one. That looks pretty good. Okay. Go ahead and pause it if you need to finish making your grid. And then I'm going to add one more circle in the center, which is about the size of the end of my pencil. And I'm going to switch to my pen. And I'm going to ink in these lines. So I'm going to ink in the small circle inside. And if you want to keep yours in pencil for now, you can. I know this part can be a little bit stressful, but again, we're just making these for ourselves. We're just trying to find a few moments of calm. I don't do these to sell them or put them on anything. I'm just doing them for myself. So I'm not too concerned if some of my lines are straight instead of curved, or if my circles are uneven. There we go. I'm not going to ink in the straight lines, just the circles. Okay, so we're going to make a little petal pattern that we're going to repeat on 3 of these sections. So I'm going to draw it down here for you. This petal pattern goes up, and then it does a little dip in the middle and comes back down. Okay, so it goes up, comes down in the center, and then back up and down. That's the shape we're going to do. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So in this teeny tiny center, I'm going to put very little ones. They almost look like little hearts. Putting one in each section, even though it's very, very tiny, that's okay. And then I'm going to put ink around those extra parts. That was a really small area to work in. Okay, now I'm going to skip this center or this next area right here, and I'm going to go out to the next one over here. So in each of these divided sections, I'm going to put one of those petals. So if it helps you, you can take your pencil and make a little dash in the middle so you know that you come up, come down through that center, and back up and down. So if that helps you, you can do that. We're going to put one in each of those sections. And I like having that outer circle line so we know where to tap and come back down. So if you look closely, this petal right here is off. I didn't make it exactly the same as the other ones. And I just want to point that out because it's okay. It's okay that it doesn't look the same as the other ones. And then I'm going to ink in that extra space that is left. And enjoy these moments of coloring in without having to think of your next pattern you're going to make or the next line. Just enjoy a moment of filling in these spaces. And also, if I look closely, I notice that this one up here is really wide and this one is narrow. Again, that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to skip a section and go to the outer section. So out here, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to divide each of these wide areas in half. So I'm just going to give it a little hash mark on the halfway point. And I'm going to make those same petal patterns all the way around the outside. Don't hurry yourself on this part. Take your time. Enjoy that repetitive movement. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I love to repeat a pattern. So I like that we had this little petal shape and we did it in the middle, we did it in the center, and then we did it on this outer edge. Now I'm going to take just a minute to color in these extra spaces. And I love mandalas that have the light and the dark. And again, just enjoy this moment of coloring in, breathing while you do it. When I'm working on parts like this where I don't have to think about being creative, this is when I let my mind just kind of wander, thinking about whatever's going on in my life, but not in a stressful way. Just sit here and think through things without the pressure. I'm almost done filling this in. Again, if you need to pause it to catch up, that's okay. Okay, I'm going to add a couple more little circles in the form of an aura, which means we're just going to go alongside a previous line. So this circle right here, I'm going to put another line just around the outside of that, leaving a little bit of space. And when I do my auras, they tend to be very wiggly, but I like that it forces me to go slow. And it forces me to have some control. So there's that one. I'm also going to put one on the other side of that area. Again, mine are very wiggly. Auras are tricky. But I think they add so much. Now I'm going to go to that intersection and I'm going to put a little aura around that middle circle and then one on the opposite side. And then I'm going to add one around the outside of this whole piece. And you can make this as wide or as narrow as you would like. I am a pretty fast drawer, but for these auras, I really have to force myself to slow down. All right, look at how different that looks now with all those little auras all around there. Okay, I'm going to go to the very, very center, and if I have room, I'm going to add, you know what, I'm not happy with my center. I feel like these little things got very squishy in there. So instead of leaving it like that, I'm just going to fill it in. That was not my plan, but I'm just not loving that. So look at that. I'm just going to color mine in. If you like yours, please keep it. The first one that I made, I liked it, but this one, maybe it was just too small of an area. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that colored in. And I'm going to skip this section here and go to that first round of petals. And in those petals, I'm going to make a black circle with a little white space for a reflection. So I'm going to make these black circles with a little reflection. And I have it touching the line, but not going all the way up. So just like this on each of those. Okay. Now in each of those petals, I'm going to make a small curvy line on the side and then a longer curvy line. So a small curvy line this way and then a longer one. So smaller, longer, smaller, longer. And I'm just curving them kind of around that circle. I love when we start filling in with some details. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go to these outside petals, and there are so many ways that you could fill these petals in. And if you go on Pinterest or you just Google, you know, mandala petals, mandala patterns, there's so many fun things that you can do. So for today, we're just going to put an aura along the inside of each one. Look how pretty that looks. And then I'm going to go start filling them in before I finish the rest of these. So my first thought was to repeat this pattern, put that circle with these little lines, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So instead I'm going to fill them with very thin, delicate striping. So I'm going to make a stripe down the center, the ones that have the aura. And then I'm just going to continue very slowly, making sure I connect from one line down to the next until that's filled in. Okay? Very low stress, just putting in lines. If you have something else you would like to do, of course, please do it. Now I need to go in and fill those rest of those auras so they don't start putting the lines in before they have their aura. So for the auras, I'm just following along on the inside. And then I add that striping. Sometimes the simplest patterns look the most delicate. I really like that. It looks so pretty. Okay, now I'm going to do something on the outside. So I like these little circles with the reflection. So everywhere that I have a pencil line coming out, I'm going to put one of those circles and add a reflection. Trying to keep them about the same size as each other. And then in between those, I'm just going to add very small dots. just to give it a little bit of texture. And all of these mini mandalas can be made larger by just adding more circles, adding more shapes and patterns to the outside. You do not have to stop where I stop. I love it. Okay, so right now I'm going to be done with my ink part. I'm going to add some shading with my pencil, which makes it look amazing. But I really wanted to show you a mandala that just had a series of circles, and you decorate every other section. And we leave some sections white. Now, if you don't love that look, go ahead and fill these in with more patterns. But not every mandala has to be completely filled. So I kind of like this look. Now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase my lines. Look at how nice and neat that looks. All right, and I'm going to pick up my pencil. This is just a small graphite pencil from Zentangle.com. Any pencil will work. And we're going to do a little bit of shading. So I'm going to leave the center the way it is right now, and I'm going to shade the bottom of this first set of petals. So right along that line, I'm just putting that ink, or not the ink, I'm sorry, putting that graphite on the base of those petals. Then I take my blending tool. This is just a paper blending tool called a tortillon. And I'm going to push that out into the petals. Look at how pretty that already looks. And I'm going to do the same thing on this outer edge. I'm going to put this graphite right at the base of those petals. And you don't need a lot. You do always want to make sure though that the graphite touches that line. You don't want any white space between the graphite and that line that you're putting it up against. Okay, I take my blending tool and I just push that out towards the petals. And the darkest part should stay towards the middle. And it should get lighter as we push it out. I love that. And then I was going to add some shade to the outside, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So not a lot of shading on this one. Just where those petals are, so they kind of look like they're tucking in towards the middle. So that is it. Nice and simple today. We just made circles and we repeated these patterns, although I didn't like my middle and I covered it up, but you get the idea. Okay, so we need to initial our work. Always initial your work. And then in my little 5-inch sketchbook, I always write the date, and then I just write 1 or 2 sentences about what's going on in my life this week, what's on my heart, what am I thinking about, what's going on. And it's just a little reminder each week of what I was thinking as I sat and took this time to make my mandala. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that you get creative with yours. And I hope that you like this video, and I hope you subscribe. And please, please tune in next week for our next mini mandala. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.